All right. Hello, everyone. In this mind expanding episode of Heart Snacks Podcast, I am joined by Jay Alfred, one of my most interesting guests so far, independent researcher, visionary thinker, and author of Our Invisible Bodies, Between the Moon and Earth, Dark Earth, and Brains and Realities. Since the mid 2000s and even earlier, Jay has been the founder of the dark plasma hypothesis, which proposes that dark matter, making up 85% of the universe, may include weakly self-interacting particles existing in a plasma state, but not just any type of plasma, which we'll learn about very soon. We will explore the profound implications of dark plasma life forms, the possibility of parallel ecosystems on counterpart dark planets or maybe within Earth, and the overlooked frontier of plasma and dark astrobiology. We will also dive into Jay's research on plasma's role in consciousness and possibly life beyond human death. So welcome, Jay. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yes. So I want to get right into it. Um, I know you have something called the dark plasma hypothesis. Can you speak a little bit about that and why this plasma you speak of is number one, different than the plasma people are probably thinking of? And then number two, how it relates to dark matter?
Sure. So basically, I think going back to dark plasma hypothesis, right, which I proposed in around 20 years ago, uh, basically what is telling us is that we are immersed in a huge plasma sphere. The Earth, the rocky Earth, is immersed inside a huge plasma sphere about 1,000 times larger than the Earth. So I think this will be a little bit surprising to everyone. And what will be more surprising is that within this dark plasma sphere, there are a variety of life forms, plasma life forms. Okay, and we may have interacted with them, but we do not know that that is where they originate from. You know.
Yeah.
But what is even more surprising than these two, points that I've just raised is that this is not imagination. This is not intuition. I did not come to this based on intuition. I All this is based on logical connections from current science, principally
Yeah.
dark matter theory, plasma physics, and of course biology. You know, so a lot of people have been talking about ordinary plasma. The
Yes. The
problem with
fourth state of
ordinary
matter.
plasma, there is a big problem with ordinary plasma. The biggest problem is that it's just too strong. The
Mm,
electromagnetic force is just too strong. The electric charge is just too strong. A lot of
mm,
people may find it surprising. I mean, why would a force that is strong be less influential in shaping the universe and generating life? Okay, why would a strong force like that, you know, actually instead of helping, to shape the universe architecturally together with life forms and so on and so forth? What's actually wrong with it? It's the charge itself is so strong that what we call instabilities arise. There's a lot
yes.
which basically blows up the plasma, so it can't be sustained. And number two is for life to emerge, for things to happen in the universe, work has to be done. If work has to be done, you will need the charges to be separated. The positive charge and the negative charge, they have to be separated.
Mm,
It's only when you separate, like in a battery, right? You have the positive pole and the negative pole, and you put a
yeah.
wire around it. It's only when the positive and negative are separated that charges actually flow from one pole to the other, and work is done. But what happens if the poles just come together? There's nothing. There's nothing. Okay, there's no electric force pushing anything around. So work can only be done if the charges are separated. And the problem with ordinary plasma is that the electric charge is too strong. So what happens? For example, on the surface of the Earth, do you see natural plasma? You don't. Why?
Mm,
Because the charges are so strong that immediately combine to form atoms, neutral atoms.
Yeah.
So that is why a lot of people have been talking about ordinary plasma life forms and all. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in science. It won't work. Maybe in plasma clouds there could be, because in
In
plasma
dusty
cloud,
complex in dusty complex plasma, right?
yes,
That's possibly, yeah.
it's possible, but the life form will not be as complex. It will be simple life forms. Okay, the reason why it works in
Yep.
plasma clouds is that the ionization or the plasma is generated by different method. It's a different method of generating the plasma. It's through photoionization. That means when the sun's photons hits the clouds, right? Or when a star's photons hits the clouds, they send the electrons flying out. Okay, the electrons are pushed out of the atoms. And because of that, there is a charge separation.
Yes.
Okay, but still the charge is still strong. But over there, there's a charge separation. So there could be some life forms. I cannot rule it out. There could be life forms or things happening in a plasma cloud, which is different from, let's say, on the surface of the Earth. On the surface of the Earth
Yeah.
is almost impossible unless you artificially produce it. Like for example, you take an electric field, like what
Yeah.
Losnienu and Sandulu both chew. It's difficult to pronounce the name, but those Romanian physicists, right? I
Yes.
think a lot of people have been talking about it, right? I spoke about it 20 years ago, but a lot of people are talking about it. But basically, they generated plasma not through natural means. They generated it by using an electric field on the surface of the Earth. And then these plasma spheres came out, right? But
Yes.
once, but after a few seconds, they basically disappear. So ordinary
Yeah, they're not
plasma
sustainable.
is a problem. Yeah, ordinary plasma instead, the two problems are plasma instability, which blows up the whole thing, and number two, the difficulty of keeping the charges separate.
Yes. And I would love to talk about that further because I completely agree with you. So I think what we share here is when I talk about plasma in my book, A New Force, I talk about what I call 4-dimensional plasma and 5th-dimensional plasma. And I call 4-dimensional plasma a more multi-dimensional plasma, or it is a metaphysical plasma made of what I would call antiphotons. But I look back at your work and I think you were the first to even say this, that there is a dark plasma field that is actually a weaker field but stronger in a way where it actually impacts our reality. And you say that there is a whole slew of not just dark matter in here, but rather dark photons and dark electromagnetism. So I would love to hear more about your actual dark plasma hypothesis and how this stretches beyond physical ionized gas plasma, which is also not what I'm speaking about when I speak of plasma. So it's very important people learn about this because I think this is where the future is headed.
Yeah. So what is dark plasma, and why is it different from ordinary plasma?
Yeah.
Since 2008, 2009, right, leading physicists, right, Sean Carroll, and then followed by Lisa Randall, okay, followed by A.V. Loeb, followed by Matthew Heiken-Himo, followed by Kristen Spatman. They're all talking about the fact, and now it's like a lot of physicists are talking about the fact that dark matter may have an electric charge. So dark matter, as you said, makes up 85% of the universe. Now, within this 85%, Lisa Randall basically says there is a subcomponent, about 15% of it, okay, which has a weak electric charge, which is just nice. Basically that's what we want, a weak electric charge. Why? Because it keeps charges separated. Okay, it
Yes.
can start to work. Okay, and there are a lot of other implications, quite a little bit more complicated implications of a weak electric charge. But the basic one is that the instabilities, the usual plasma instabilities that you see will be suppressed. Okay? Charge separation can happen. And the whole, if you look at dark plasma, if dark plasma forms a plasma sphere, that plasma sphere will be different from our ordinary plasma sphere okay,
Yeah.
that dark plasma sphere will be a very gentle, peaceful place with much less plasma instabilities. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
charge separation is so important because if you have learned biology, you would know that
Mm-hmm.
living things can only survive if there's charge separation. For example, in every one of our cells, in the trillions of cells that we have, okay, the body separates the protons from inside the cell to and outside the cell so that there is a voltage gradient between the outside of the cell and the inside of the cell.
Yeah.
Okay, the charges have to be separated, but the charges that are separated within a human body or what I would call an ordinary matter body, okay,
Mm-hmm.
was done not through this plasma thing. It was done through hydrodynamic forces. That means the molecules and the atoms and all. But dark plasma is naturally it has a weak electric charge. Naturally, it separates. Even when it combines slowly. So everything is, you have to imagine a plasma sphere, which is like a plasma ocean. Okay, very, very
Yeah.
gentle, laminar flows and things like that. Okay,
Yeah. Very
and
subtle.
yeah, and not only that, dark plasma has got both neutral particles. We talked about the 85%, and then we talked about this 15%. This 15% is the part that has got this weak electric charge. So 70% does not have, or
Got
rather,
it.
it does not manifest. Okay, what that means is that this 70% are neutral particles. So if they are neutral particles, if they are neutral particles, right? Just imagine how predominant the neutral particles would be. If the neutral particles are 70% and the ones that have electric charge is 15%, okay, what will the neutral particles do? They will act as a neutral buffer between charges. So that again helps this, with the weak electric charge, and then with this predominant, you know, predominance of neutral particles, the charges will
Mm.
stay separated. The plasma instabilities will be suppressed. And of course, the density of dark matter particles are much, much less than ordinary matter particles. So again, there's a separation. All this is very, very important for what we're going to talk about. Okay, because when you talk about dark plasma life forms, we need this kind of
Yeah.
environment. It can't happen with ordinary plasma environments. Okay,
No, it's
so,
way too
yeah,
unstable, way too hot, and yeah.
yeah. So the other thing is that a lot of people are talking about plasma, ordinary plasma, blah blah blah, on Earth, and UAPs and things like that. And
I
then
know.
if a scientist was listening in, they would just ask a simple question: do you know what's the dark matter density on Earth? Dark matter density on Earth is supposed to be very, very low. Okay,
Mm.
very, very low. If the dark matter particles are so far apart and so low density, how can you possibly talk about plasma life forms on Earth?
Yeah.
Okay? So that's another hurdle that many people who are very popular, talking about plasma, don't even address this question. And this question was addressed, of course, in my book in 2007, 2008, and things like that, which
Yeah.
is that as we got to do more and more experiments, okay, what we found out is that dark matter density may not be that low. This is what I said in 2007. I wrote an article about this. How can dark matter density be so low when there are so many sources of dark matter, hitting the Earth? Earth itself is moving through the galaxy, right? Just swimming through all these dark matter particles. Between the time that Earth was formed and now, Earth has gone through 200 solar masses of dark matter particles. That's enormous, right?
Wow.
And the other thing is there are also dark matter clouds, huge dark matter clouds passing through the Earth and the solar system,
Mm.
right? So a lot of these, there are many, many sources. I mean, it's all discussed in my books and articles and papers also. And because of this, we know there's a high dark matter density now, but scientists keep recording the mass of the Earth as they record the mass of the Earth, and then they say, oh yeah, everything is ordinary matter. We've done the gravimetric measurements and so on and so forth. We've used
Mm-hmm.
gravitational accelerations of different parts of the Earth, the satellites and so on and so on. There is no dark matter on Earth. I mean, there's hardly any dark matter on Earth because we know what the mass of the Earth is, but they're missing a very crucial point. The mass that you're measuring, are you sure it's all ordinary matter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, recently, only very, very recently in 2023, actually it started from 2015, but in 2023, they did some very definitive kind of analysis. And they noted that the mass that we have so far been measuring is not just ordinary matter, it's also dark matter.
Mm.
Because gravitational acceleration, it doesn't matter. When you measure gravitational accelerations, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's dark matter or ordinary matter, you still get the same gravitational acceleration. So gravimetric measurements that we have used throughout our history to measure the Earth, the mass of the Earth, is actually conflating two different types of matter, dark matter and ordinary matter. And that's what I pointed out in my latest scientific papers and so on and so forth, that
Yeah.
this is a crucial point. And in 2023, the researchers who were doing it said the same thing. Dark matter and ordinary matter are, gravitational measurements cannot piece them out. So
No.
what do we do? Recently, they have introduced a new method which does not rely on gravity. It's called neutrino tomography.
Oh, yes, neutrinos. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
mentioned this. Okay, go ahead.
So these neutrino oscillations, right, that happen, that
What
I,
is it called? Sorry, neutrino
okay,
what?
yeah, there are neutrino oscillations that happen. That basically neutrino actually can change its type of. There are three types of neutrino, and as it passes through space, right, it actually changes. They actually have, Kamiokande and various, detection uh, installation instruments, okay,
Mm-hmm.
measuring these neutrinos that are passing through Earth. What they found in 2023 is actually the probability of the way the neutrino oscillates through Earth, right, actually can tell us about the mass of the Earth. And this is based on what we call weak interactions. There are four forces: the weak force, the strong force, electromagnetic, and gravity. This uses the weak force. So basically, there are weak interactions between these neutrinos and dark matter, which are not, which, they, so the neutrinos actually pick up the weak interactions. They don't care about gravity, right? So they are able to pinpoint whether there is dark matter on Earth or not, which the gravimetric measurements cannot use. Because gravimetric measurements, they conflict both, right? So you basically just talk about matter. But with neutrino oscillations and probabilities and so on and so forth, using those, they have actually arrived at a conclusion that you cannot rule out that more than 30% of the core of the Earth could be dark matter, and more than 20% of the whole Earth could be dark matter. Now, 20% is pretty, I mean, it's a lot. Okay, 20% of the mass of the Earth is pretty huge. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when you calculate the density of 20, if 20% of the Earth is dark matter, if you calculate the density of dark matter, it's about 1 gram per cm cube, which is actually same as water. Water is water. So dark matter is the same density as water on Earth.
Whoa.
So that's quite significant. Okay, so because of that, now we have a model. Okay, where dark matter density is actually could be much higher than we ever thought. So that's where the story begins. Okay, so the story
Yeah.
begins. Why? Because if that is the case, then how is this dark matter? The first question that maybe you think about, how is this dark matter organized around Earth? You know, so I mean, if you talk about gravity, gravity will naturally form or push it into to become a sphere, right? Actually, there's a longer story to it. I mean, it could be the dark matter was already here before the ordinary matter Earth.
I think
Okay,
so too.
and while Earth was forming, there were so many sources that talked about the galactic halo, passing clouds, and so on and so forth, where it accretes dark matter on Earth. So it becomes a dark plasma sphere. Then when I said just now, we are actually immersed in a dark plasma sphere. Okay,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
almost
one.
like a torus of dark plasma, the same as our biofield, which we're going to get into, I'm sure. I think it's made of
Exactly,
the same
exactly.
stuff. So it's kind of like metaphor and as above, so below. And maybe it was all this dark plasma and it crystallized, an earth in the middle of it with ordinary matter. But there's this huge dark plasma torus around it, always flowing. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah, you're actually right in your description. Okay, but if you want to go deeper, why
Yeah.
in the first place is a torus shape? That's a question. I mean, I have a paper called Structure and Dynamics of Dark Plasma Sphere. Now, how could this, okay, if you talk about the torus, right? But how does a torus appear? I mean, it looks like a magnetic field, right? It looks like a magnetic
Yeah.
field, correct? How did a magnetic field appear there in this dark plasma sphere? Obviously, if it's plasma, the way plasma in this particular case, we theorize, as it were, that this dark plasma is made out of dark protons and dark electrons. These dark protons are
Yes.
huge, heavy. These electrons, right? Tiny electrons. So what happens when Earth was formed, and then when dark matter was accreting, is that these dark protons, they go right to the middle of the Earth, to the core of the Earth. And these electrons, right, they circle around like in a shell. So what happens there? Basically, an electric field is formed because you got all the protons and you've got the electrons. It's like a battery. It's like a battery with a
Yeah.
positive pole and a negative pole. So
Mm-hmm.
immediately you see there's an electric field forming. Now, if an electric current forms between the protons and the shell of electrons, right? Basic electrodynamics says that there will be a magnetic field. So that's how you get your torus, you see. I mean, if the magnetic field is generated by the current from the core of the Earth to the shell. And of course, it looks like a torus and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's basically going into the structure of the plasma sphere. But having said that, okay, we have a plasma sphere,
Yep.
1,000 times larger. We are living in it. What happens next?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we talk about life forms, right? The next
That was
thing is,
my next question.
yeah. So, but just to recap, what have we done so far? Basically, we talk about the big universe, cosmology, and then we talk about the Milky Way, our galaxy. Then we talked about our solar system with all the dark matter. Then we came to Earth and realized that the density was so high. So from the universe, we went to the galaxy. Now we went to Earth. Now this Earth, right, which is composed of dark plasma, I call it dark Earth. Okay, I call it dark Earth. And by the way, for people who are not familiar with dark matter, the dark basically means invisible. It does not mean as opposite to bright. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just, scientists have a queer way of naming things. So they just call it dark. Dark means that the radiation from dark matter cannot be detected by our instruments. Now, when you look at dark Earth, right, it is not a simple, it's not a like a tenuous. I mean, it's not diffuse, so diffuse that you can't see anything. It's just clouds passing by. No, it's not. It's highly structured, as what we just mentioned. It has a torus and things like that, right? And
Yeah.
and because the electric charge is so weak, it is very gentle. It's magnetic field and it's got electric currents, but it's very um, gentle, and the currents are also very gentle because and the charges and the currents can be sustained. Why? Because of the weak charge. So
Yes.
so basically you have what we call a gradient, a steep gradient between the positive and a negative. Now, this is very important for life to come into the picture,
Yeah.
because that gradient is the thing that makes everything work. Okay. Now, I mentioned Losniano. Okay, in 2003, he did some experiments in the laboratory, and what he found was, when he when he got two electrodes, positive and negative electrodes, and he passed through a very high electric current through it. And what happened was there was a spark, okay, from one electrode to the other. There was a spark, and in the other electrode, what he noticed that there was a sphere that appeared, a sphere, a positive nucleus with electrons surrounding it.
Huh.
And what happened was this sphere managed to escape from the electrode. And when you escape from the electrode and it just floats around the air, like your orbs and your bindus and your so on and so forth. It
Yeah.
just floats around, and then it starts to eat. It starts to consume, in the sense that it starts to absorb more charged particles from the atmosphere, from the lab. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And what happened when it became bigger? It actually split, like mitosis. In biology, it actually split, and it produced two spheres, two cells, two plasma cells. Okay,
Wow.
yeah. And not only that, what Losnaniu found was they could actually communicate, because plasma cells or plasma bodies are natural emitters of electromagnetic waves and natural receivers of electromagnetic waves. Unlike our biochemical bodies, okay, plasma life forms are natural. They are electromagnetic entities, so they naturally,
Yeah.
you know, absorb, and they also emit electromagnetic waves. So what Losnelli found is that they were actually communicating through these electromagnetic waves. So they
Through
decided,
electromagnetism in science, or are you saying the dark electromagnetism? Through regular
no, no, no,
electromagnetism,
no,
they were.
no, no. Losnelli is doing ordinary plasma, but
Got it. Got it.
yeah, but this ordinary plasma cannot last on the surface of the earth. He did it in an artificial process. He used electric fields. Okay, so you can't see like ordinary plasma blobs moving around. You can't see
Yeah,
that.
they created it.
Yeah, he created in very artificial circumstances, but nevertheless it proves the point that
Yeah, it does.
plasma can actually produce these spheres, which can grow large. That means they have metabolic activities.
Mm-hmm.
They can replicate, okay, and they can communicate. Okay,
Yes.
so
Which.
that's basically the model that we are using, and then bring it to dark plasma. So if that is the
Yeah.
case, remember the electrodes that we had: the protons in the dark earth, in the core, and the electrons around in a shell around it. So it's basically the same setup as Losnanius laboratory. He had the positive, he has a negative electrode. So
Mm-hmm.
if there are currents, spheres also can appear in this particular dark plasma sphere. Okay, spheres meaning that they could, grow bigger and replicate and communicate. So dark plasma life forms can 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 use that, dark plasma sphere to actually. When I say dark plasma life forms, I don't mean a specific life form. I mean
Yeah.
a domain of life. That means the variety of life forms in this dark earth or dark plasma sphere is as great, or is actually greater than what you can find on the ordinary matter earth. Okay, and we
Yeah.
have
I would
various.
call them like. Oh, sorry. Would you maybe call them also like in my book? I think I call them like we need a new definition of alive, because life isn't just like conscious human life. It is this life too. You could call it inorganic life, but it feels to me like I don't know if they're conscious, but I don't think it matters. To me, they feel sentient. It feels like there's some type of feeling and emotion there, and they're made of what you call this dark plasma. And I mean, I have visual snow. I can sometimes see these things in my frame of vision, and I know I'm seeing dark plasma because I'm not seeing regular matter. But it's just interesting to hear you say all this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so these dark plasma life forms, there are trillions of them. There are trillions upon trillions. Okay,
Yeah.
and they are all around us, and we are immersed in it, but we can't see it with our ordinary matter eyes
Yeah.
or ordinary sight. You know, so okay, so these dark plasma life forms, I mean, they could be like small as mosquitoes, but they could be huge. And when I say huge, I mean really huge. Okay, not like the larger than whales. Okay, why do you know why? Can you guess why dark plasma life forms can grow much larger than ordinary matter life forms?
I mean, my only guess, I would also say this is maybe where giants and other mythological things stem from. But I would say maybe just because they're bringing in a lot more energy so they could grow more. I don't know. You tell me.
So the secret is back to the electric charge. Is because of the weak electric charge. What the weak
Oh,
yeah. So because of a weak electric charge, what we call the Debye length, right?
yes.
The Debye length is the length over which these electric charges can be felt. Okay,
Yes.
what normally happens in a plasma is when protons come together, right? Electrons will just rush and cloud around it, and they will neutralize the positive charge of it, and
With a Deb
basically,
shield
yeah,
or something, right?
yeah. So when the electric charge becomes weak, what happens? Basically it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? When the electric charge becomes weaker, the Debye length becomes larger and larger and larger, and the life forms gets larger and larger and larger and larger. That's why the dark plasma life forms are larger than ordinary matter life forms. And all this can be
Interesting.
mathematically derived. I mean, it's not something like, just speculating on something. It
Yeah.
can be derived. So that's why you see all these huge UAPs and so-called UAPs or UFOs, okay, which nobody has a clue. I mean, why are they so large and why are they gliding through our skies? They probably don't even know that they're gliding through our skies. They're just gliding through their plasma sphere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these plasma life forms have been around, and the next thing to investigate is, okay, but are they all over the plasma sphere? Or are they located in certain places? Okay,
Mm.
so where they are located depends on how the plasma sphere is structured. So you have the negative and the positive, right? Charges in the core and in the shell around the Earth. But in between, right, you have all the neutral. The density of neutral particles is much higher around the surface of the Earth. Okay, based on some uh, um, scientific research, right, about dark matter in celestial bodies. Okay, what the researchers basically noted is that the density of neutral particles, right, of dark matter particles would be very high around the surface of the celestial body. So that means the neutral particles will be very dense around the surface of the Earth. Okay, but of course
Mm.
they'll be mixed in with the positive particles and the negative particles. Huh? So why is this so important to life? It is because the neutral particles actually creates that charge separation. Okay, it actually creates the charge separation, and that is why the surface of the Earth, okay, is quite conducive. I mean, when I say surface of the Earth, I don't mean the ordinary matter Earth. I mean the part of the dark plasma sphere which is coincident with our surface. You know,
Yeah.
so this is where probably high density plasma life forms have the highest density. That means, I mean, they are very, very tenuous life forms. I mean, you can't see them or whatever. But if the more dense the plasma life form gets, the more you'll be able to see them. Okay,
Okay.
so
And it's near the surface of the Earth, you said?
yes,
Okay.
I actually call it the CTS region, the CTS region. The C meaning
CTS.
the C meaning the crust, okay?
Yep.
The T meaning the troposphere, which is the first layer of the atmosphere, and the
Mm,
stratosphere. Now, most of the
interesting.
UFOs and so on and so forth all happen around here, and so does the Marian apparitions.
Mm-hmm.
So do the Marian apparitions. So this is the part. Okay, 50 kilometers above the surface of the Earth and 50 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. So you're spanning about 100 kilometers,
Got it.
right? So
I'm taking notes.
yeah, I mean, so that's called the CTS region. That's where most plasma life forms that we could possibly, interact with, come from. That's not to say that beyond that there is no life form. There are, but they are very high frequency, very very low density. Okay,
Yeah.
so most of the interactions that we have so far, over centuries, right? All these Marian apparitions, UFOs, UAPs, ghosts, jinns, all of
Yeah.
these actually tend to cluster around this CTS region.
Mm.
So what happens next? I mean, if you have any questions, maybe you can ask now. Maybe you can ask.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many, but you're answering a lot of them, which is good. But basically, what I hear you saying, and this really coincides with my work, is that around the surface, 50 kilometers up or down, and this might also, this might have to do with, Middle Earth theories too about, beings living inside the Earth might not be far off. Maybe they're dark plasma. But I've experienced these ghosts and these jinns, and I've experienced these other life forms, and they seem to be reflecting my consciousness. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that. So when I have experiences with these beings, it seems to me they're not necessarily conscious, but they're reflecting my inner state back to me. Could you speak on that maybe, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts. I've got tons of papers on that and articles.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
basically, but before we go there, maybe we go another step so that you realize what you're actually seeing. Okay, now these dark plasma life forms, right? Those that are living close to us, what are they seeing? What are they seeing? They basically know that something's happening around, just like we are wondering what's happening in that dark matter sphere. They are wondering what's happening here. I mean,
mm,
occasionally they also see UFOs and UAPs, but they are not coming from the dark matter. They are coming from the ordinary matter Earth.
yeah,
We are interacting them without knowing it, and they are interacting with us without knowing it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So who are these dark plasma life forms? Basically they would be quite intelligent. I mean, I mean, I'm talking about, I mean, they would be intelligent because plasma enables cognitive processes to move much faster. They can use quantum processing and so on and so forth.
yeah,
And what they, I mean, they the more intelligent one, the more intelligent life forms, right, will be actually observing Earth and noting that, there are these creatures called Homo sapiens, right? Like
yeah,
100,000 years ago, they don't notice these guys seem to be quite interesting. Okay, so what they may want, I mean, what in terms of their strategy is that they may they may say to themselves, "Hey, why not we go down there, you know, and do something with them because their environment seems to be a little, you know something different from our environment. It's actually quite interesting." Then, of course, when they have a meeting or whatever, I mean, just figuratively speaking, when they have a meeting with other plasma life forms, of course they discuss it. But how are we supposed to go down there? Now, happily, what happens is that human bodies, just like any other ordinary matter bodies, it actually attracts dark matter, dark matter
yeah,
particles. Okay, through a fifth force. I mean, apart from the four forces, there's actually a. I mean, we speculate there is a fifth fundamental force, which is an attractive force, a short-range attractive force. So what happens when the dark matter particle comes close to your body? It sticks to your to your electrons and neutrons. It doesn't stick to the proton. It sticks to the electrons and the neutrons. So what happens
mm,
if when your mother gave birth to you, right? She already had a whole envelope of dark matter particles around her. And
Yeah.
when you were growing for 9 months inside the womb, you were collecting so much of dark matter.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
by the time you come out, you have all this dark matter envelope, and then you start accreting also. It's just like the Earth. When it was formed, it had the dark matter core,
Yep.
right? And then, as you know, over 4.5 billion years, it also started collecting particles. So in the same way, human bodies also do that. So what happened when the dark plasma life forms are looking at us? They can actually see us, but they do not know what they're seeing. They just see this dark matter envelopes around us, not just moving from one place to another, right? So the next question is, how more involved can we be with this Homo sapiens? You know, so some wise guy, some wise plasma life form, right, hovered around, a fetus, right, and he saw the dark matter envelope around it, or the dark plasma envelope around it, and it's very easy. He just synchronized his frequency with the frequency of this dark plasma envelope.
Yeah.
Okay, once he synchronizes it, it just merges and fuses with it. Okay, so that fetus dark matter envelope now becomes this dark plasma life form from dark Earth. Okay, so there's actually a scientific term for this. This is called endosymbiosis. Endosymbiosis,
Yes.
and it
Like in
happens all the time.
twins.
No. It's not like a twin. It's like a it's twins are two separate things, but this is
Oh.
one life form inside another life form.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I was thinking about where the twins eat each other in the womb.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
So
Yes.
basically, in our cells, in our human cells, right, inside the cell, right, there's
Mm-hmm.
mitochondria. There's mitochondria inside. Okay. This mitochondria it did not originate from our cell. It actually came from the environment. It went into our cell and became an organelle inside our cell. And
Huh.
that is called endosymbiosis.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
And can
we
you tell
are,
me just, oh, sorry,
yeah.
one
So
question just to clear it up before we move on, because I don't want to forget. What is the fifth force that you were speaking of?
okay, the fifth force, right? Now, recently there's been experiments on what we call the X17 particles, the X17 particle. Okay, and what they noticed is that, when they did experiments with carbon, with helium, and so on and so forth, they found very anomalous trajectories, okay, which were not supposed to happen. And based on the physics, right, they concluded that there has to be a force. Okay, so they concluded that this X17 particles is a boson, B-O-S-O-N. Bosons are particles that
Oh, yes.
carry forces, right? So they call it X17 boson. So of course, it was met with a lot of skepticism because it was very difficult to replicate. Okay, but nevertheless, they did replicate it a couple of times, and there were other physicists, other groups of physicists who looked at their work and said that this can't be by chance. There's something going on. Okay, this happened about like just over the past 10 years, and experiments are still going on. But there's a very high level of confidence that this X17 boson may be mediating an attractive force, not only between ordinary matter particles, but between dark matter and ordinary matter. So that's how you get the dark matter envelope around human bodies.
Got it. Okay, between ordinary and dark matter.
Yeah, it's a it's a
And
it's a
then,
it's a fundamental force, a very short range force. That means it can't like come from a 1 kilometer away and just come to you. It has to be very close to you, then it sticks to you.
got it. And would you say also, it seems to me almost that these dark plasma life forms are kind of like our ancestors, like, and that they hold memory. Because I feel like when I connect with this, I feel like a connection where you're more in science. I do love science, but I have a like a soul connection. I feel like with this, and I feel like I can kind of get memories from them. Could you speak on that maybe? Oh, sorry, you muted. You're muted.
Okay, that is that.
Okay.
I mean that's a great topic. Um, it can be explained very. I mean, it can be explained. I've already explained it in a few papers and articles. So basically, you have a bioelectric field. Bioelectric fields
Yes.
actually store memory. If you look at Michael Levin, from Tufts University, okay, he talks about this. I've also actually got a paper on bioelectric reincarnation, something to that.
Oh, I
Right?
know. I have questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So bioelectric fields in not on human bodies. I mean, in every life form, even a butterfly, right? Now, or caterpillar. There was this experiment that people did with a caterpillar where they actually destroyed the brain of the caterpillar, right? And when it
Hmm.
turned into a butterfly, it had the memory of the caterpillar, even though the brain was destroyed. So
Yeah.
Levin actually asked, I mean, where do you think the memories are? The memories have to be in the bioelectric field of the caterpillar.
In the dark plasma field around us.
No, no, no. It is that this is not dark plasma. This is ordinary electric field. But
Oh, I see.
I'll tell you how the ordinary electric field,
Okay.
okay, connects with the dark plasma.
Okay.
I have a paper on it, but just to cut to the chase. So basically,
Yeah.
you have bioelectric field, right? Now, a bioelectric field has got voltage gradients. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this dark electrons, right? Dark electrons are attracted to these voltage gradients through the X17 particle, through the mediating fifth force.
Mm.
So what
Okay.
happens is that this bioelectric field is actually captures and attracts dark matter particles.
Oh, okay. I
This
see.
is very interesting. This is very interesting in the sense that scientists haven't come to that stage yet, where
Yeah.
if you look at Barbara Brennan, who's a psychic. I don't know whether you've heard of her, but
Yeah, from NASA. She talked about healing and plasma sometimes.
so what Levin did in his lab, and let's compare what Levin did in his lab and what Barbara Brennan sees when she sees a human body. What Levin did in his lab is basically he used this dye. It's called a reporter dye, a voltage reporter dye, which can trace the voltage gradients of the bioelectric field. So he took a frog and he traced the voltage gradients, and the dye actually lets you see, the bioelectric field. And what he found is that even in a tadpole, right? Even in a tadpole, the whole frog appears in the bioelectric field. It's not just the tadpole. It's the adult frog appears as the bioelectric field. And this voltage reporter dye, right? This dye that he used actually shows the eyes and the mouth, of the frog, not of the tadpole. It tells you what the tadpole will grow into.
Yeah.
Similarly, metaphysicists like Leadbeater, Charles Leadbeater and Annie
Hmm.
Besson and Blavatsky and all these people, what
Yeah,
they
Helena Blavatsky, the life atom. Yep.
so what they see or have seen or have reported is that when a woman is pregnant, right, they can actually see a baby floating around the womb. Okay,
Mm.
what is this? What is it? Is this the bioelectric field, or is this what is it? The difference between Levin, the scientist, and what Barbara Brennan, who's a clairvoyant, sees are somewhat similar, but there are a lot of differences. What Levin and scientists see is only that dark imprint from that voltage reporter dye, the dye. I mean, that's all they see. But what
Yeah.
Barbara Brennan sees is colorful streams, and fields, you know, basically very similar, and basically like clairvoyants, like is what I mentioned. They see a baby. What he sees a frog, but very very sketchy frog. But they see the whole thing, the clairvoyants see the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
the baby and the colors and the chakras and all everything. I call it chakras, but basically it's plasma
Yeah,
vortexes. Chakras are plasma vortexes. Filamentary currents are meridians.
I agree.
These are all signature features of plasma, and that's how actually I got into this field when I realized that it's actually staring in your face. What's happening is actually staring in your face, but you don't even realize that. When people talk about chakras and filamentary currents, they don't realize that they're talking about plasma.
Plasma, I know. And yeah, it's all the same shapes. When I study plasma dynamics, and I'm like, wait a second, this all connects to metaphysics and mythology. Like it all, I see it so clear. I know you do too.
Yeah. So I mean that will be the next stage or next phase of humankind, where they actually look at religion and say, hey, all this can be explained by science actually now, you know. And basically, okay, so what did Brennan see? Brennan sees huge, so many things that scientists can't even. So Levin was basically seeing like a sketch, but she was seeing like a whole sculpture, with so many features. And so my question in the paper was, what why is Brennan seeing that, and why is Levin seeing that? So
Yeah,
that's where this attachment comes in. The bioelectric field actually attracts dark matter particles. So
yeah,
what Brennan was seeing was the whole body, the dark matter particles, and so on and so forth. What Levin was seeing was the ordinary bioelectric field. So the bioelectric field, there are coupling. I actually have a paper called coupling mechanisms between the bioelectric
yes,
field and the dark matter particles. So going back to the story, the so-called story, right? When when this dark plasma life forms, right, they see all this, they can see the dark matter component, they cannot see the ordinary matter component. Okay, so they see this dark matter envelope, and one wise guy, plasma life form, said, hey, why don't we fuse with this dark plasma envelope? And as what I said, it's called endosymbiosis, and it's a very common thing in biology. Lynn Margulis was the first person who actually talked about it, you know, and she had a lot of blowback and things like that. But later on, they found that life evolution doesn't proceed by competition alone. It actually also cooperates. Like, for example, there are trillions of bacterial cells in our body. They live very peacefully with us, and we live very peacefully with them without even knowing that they exist in our guts, in our ears, in our nose, and so on and so forth. Right? This is also a kind of endosymbiosis. And of course, in every of our cells, our trillions of cells, there's mitochondria, which does not belong there. It actually came from somewhere else. So this thing is not something strange to science. When I talk about endosymbiosis of dark plasma life forms and ordinary carbon-based human bodies, I'm not talking about something that is alien to scientific process.
no,
So
it
everything I talk about is actually based on science. Although people may not
it's
realize.
so provable. Yes, it's so credible and provable, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because it seems like I'm saying what you're saying is that if we mute your mic just so I can, so it doesn't basically, if we study plasma dynamics in this third dimensional space, and we can apply that to this dark plasma, or what I call 4D plasma space, we can learn so much more about the actual energy creating reality, and more about consciousness by studying dusty complex plasma. So I really think plasma is like the next frontier, and we're in a plasma universe, and like I know you're going to go down in history for this, and I'm glad it's happening now, because I think the next 10 years are going to be so exciting. And with that said, you can comment on that, but I also want to know what initially drew you to this work.
Yeah, I think basically, used to read a lot of Charles Leadbeater's work, because Leadbeater is different from other metaphysicists in the sense that he takes a scientific approach together with Annie Besson. Okay, they were known as theosophists, but I don't really talk about theosophists as a whole. I just talk about these individuals, And
Yeah.
Blavatsky was saying things more than 100 years ago, which I mean, I'm astounded by the fact, that she talks about, for example, dark solar winds and things like that, and dark suns,
Yeah.
which we only now are, mapping, as it were. And Annie
Mm-hmm.
Besant was another one who was really good. I mean, in terms of describing the dark plasma spheres and so on and so forth. Although she didn't call it plasma sphere, she called it what she called. Okay.
Thought
Uh,
forms and stuff, right? She talked about
yeah,
thought. Annie Besant. Yeah.
yeah, thought forms and so on and so forth. And of course, Charles Leadbeater was the most. I mean, he was very, very factual, very clinical in his approach. So that was really good for me because he was a little bit more scientific. And
Yeah.
uh, and of course, he was talking about chakras and filamentary currents, as what I mentioned before. Okay, and I mean, it's like so obvious that this. And when I learned about plasma, I mean, and I looked at this, it's like so obvious that these have to be plasma bodies. Or else, why would they organize into vortexes and filamentary currents and
Yeah.
concentric shells? They form
Concentric shells.
concent-
Yep.
concentric shells. Why do you have vertical currents? You see in the center of the body, you see, in yoga and Hindu illustrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see the vertical currents, the Ida and the Pingala. These are basically
Mm-hmm.
counter streaming electrical currents. Okay,
Yeah.
from the core, positive core to the you know to the negative electron core. So where do these particles come from? I can tell you. I've written about it. And
Mm-hmm.
how do the vertical currents? Okay, they're actually vertical currents, and the vertical currents actually occasionally, stick to each other. When they stick to each other, I mean, technically you call it a pinch. When they pinch, they form plasmoids. Plasmoids form, evolve into vortexes. Okay,
Yes.
and
Pinch plasmoid. Mm-hmm.
each stage can be actually described, and I've described it. Each stage of how filamentary are generated, how they form plasma, how they form vortexes, and so on and so forth. How the
Mm-hmm.
vortexes actually form, what are the structures of the vortexes, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole. I mean, it's a whole different ball game from just talking about chakras and colors and all. I also talk about colors, but from the scientific point of view, because the electrons are
Yeah.
much hotter. The electrons are much hotter than the protons, right? And that's why you got this color gradation from red to all
Mm.
to violet. Okay.
I was going to ask you where ultraviolet comes in because I just have this intuition about ultraviolet and it's important and has to do with plasma somehow in the way we're speaking, but I don't really know how. Like in mythology, in ancient history, they called it Saint Germain and the purple or the violet flame. So I'm curious what the connection is there.
It's probably that they're probably talking about dark plasma. They're not talking about ordinary plasma. But what
Yeah.
happens is that the question is actually related to how we perceive dark plasma forms, okay, or life forms. Now, there has to be certain processes through which dark plasma life forms manifest to us. Okay, one of the processes that I actually came up with in 2008 is what I call the
Mm-hmm.
dark ionization process. Now, can you imagine a dark plasma life form zipping through the ocean, right? But he's not only zipping through his ocean, he's actually zipping through our atmosphere, right? So what's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen? The particles in his body, okay, I say his, I don't know what pronoun to use, but anyway, so basically the life form is zipping through the plasma ocean, right? And we may be able to actually see the life form, zip very fast. Okay, like coming back to your question, why, right? You asked just now why. Why do you see it? It is one of the processes that allows it to become visible is what we call the dark ionization process. Dark ionization process simply means that the ionization is initiated by the dark matter particles colliding into the ordinary matter particles of our atmosphere. Okay, so just let me repeat: the dark matter particles in
Yeah.
the dark matter dark plasma life forms, okay, collides with the ordinary matter particles of our atmosphere. And then through what we call weak interactions, right? Um, the electrons may be, or the nucleus of the atoms in our atmosphere may be blown out of the atom, or rather, shifted out of the atom. So the electrons and the nucleus separate, and they become plasma. Okay, but this plasma was not generated by raising temperature. This plasma was generated very similar to how we create plasma in medical laboratories, okay, using lasers. Okay, when we use lasers, we just pinpoint to the electron and hit the electron or hit the nucleus, okay, and the atoms become plasma. The thing about this is that you might as well hit the nucleus rather than the electron, because electrons are extremely tiny. Okay, if you hit the nucleus, the laser is going to displace the nucleus, right? The nucleus are going to collide with each other, become cooler, but the electrons are going to stay hot. Now, this kind of plasma is called a non-thermal plasma, which is maybe another term is cold plasma.
Cold plasma.
Even in a fluorescent lamp, right? Your fluorescent lamp, you can touch the fluorescent lamp. Inside the fluorescent lamp is plasma, but how come you can touch it? It is because this is cold plasma.
Yeah.
Now, this cold plasma, right? When the entity is zipping through the atmosphere, right? It's gonna the particles, ordinary particles and dark matter particles are gonna hit each other. And when they hit each other, they're gonna ionize the ordinary matter atmosphere. And this ordinary is going to produce ordinary plasma, ordinary cold plasma. And that's what we see. Okay? Generally speaking, because the interactions are weak, what you're going to get is the lower bands of the microwave and the radio wave and the infrared. Most of the time, that's what you're going to get. But occasionally you get ultraviolet. Occasionally, but ultraviolet can be harmful. Ultraviolet. In UFO sightings, there could be harmful radiation. So it depends on the type of radiation. The ordinary ultraviolet radiation, actually damages skin and eyes and things like that. That's why we wear, glasses and put on your suntan lotion and so on and so forth, right?
Yes, I've heard that from people.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question, unless you were onto something. Oh my God. Oh, where does the Higgs field come into this? And is this what they're also doing at CERN? Because I'm convinced that the Higgs field is a small part of what you're calling dark plasma, and just something that they can. So I'm curious about that. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so the Higgs field does not. Plasma is just one state of matter. Do you know how many states of matter there are? There are like more than 20. There are more than 20 states of matter.
Yeah.
20 states of matter. So plasma is just the fourth one.
Yeah.
Beyond this plasma that we know, there is another kind of plasma called the quark-gluon plasma. When you hit the ordinary plasma, when you raise the temperature even higher, right? The proton actually splits into the quarks and the gluons. Yes. This is called the quark-gluon plasma. Now, we have solid, but we have super solids. So we have liquids. We also got another state of matter called super fluids. Okay? Mm-hmm. And then beyond plasma, we also got Bose-Einstein condensation. We got fermionic condensations. Physicists like Dana Zohar, right? Dana Zohar. She says anything that contains a Bose-Einstein condensate can be conscious. So this Dana I'm talking to talks about plasma being conscious, but the other Dana, the physicist, talks about this Bose-Einstein condensation. Now, okay, since we are here, maybe I occasionally listen to you, and I just want to clarify something. You're not wrong in terms of taking in what you see. But in terms of the interpretation, right, there is a bigger picture to it. There's actually a bigger picture to it. Now, you say that consciousness, somehow plasma is conscious and so on and so forth. Now, let me ask you a question. You've got all these particles floating around as plasma, and you say that is conscious. Now, what happens when you lower the temperature? That plasma
Well,
becomes the electron and proton will combine, quickly recombine and become
yeah,
atoms in a gas. You lower the temperature down, it goes to a liquid,
yes.
it goes to a solid. So my question to you is very simple. Between the plasma state of matter and the gas state of matter, where did the consciousness go?
Yeah, well, it's funny. My theory is that plasma is not conscious, but it is the vehicle for consciousness, information, and intelligence. So that I would actually say, just what based on what you're saying, it's just an educated guess that consciousness is in this photon, or what you would call a dark photon, and when the plasma changes to an ordinary plasma state from dark plasma, it would go from this dark photon to the actual photon. Um, but I think consciousness is more of a system, a feedback system between our awareness and this plasma you talk about. Anyway, that's my theory.
Yeah, so basically, David Bohm, right, the physicist,
Yes,
yeah, he said that whenever he looked at plasma, he thinks that it's actually a life form rather than
I think
and
so too.
but he did not only say that. He said that he believes that even a single particle, an elementary particle, seems to have consciousness. So the question is, what happened between the gas and the plasma? See, gases and solids and liquids, the particles are all bounded. I mean, basically bounded together. Okay,
Yeah,
you've got a whole bunch of crazy particles, facing in different directions, and they're just gases or solids or whatever. But when it comes to
yeah,
plasma, it's very tenuous. The particles spread apart. They become individual particles. Okay. So what's the significance of this? I mean, basically, if individual particles are conscious, let's say, if individual particles are conscious, but it's a simplification of what what the bigger picture says. But if single particles are conscious, when you spread them out, right, you will feel as if they are more conscious than. So as you go down to a gas, it becomes less conscious. When you go down to a liquid, it even becomes even less, and then it goes down
I
to
see.
solids, and you don't sense that consciousness in it.
Yes.
For example, magnetism, right? Okay, how does magnetism appear in a bar of iron? I mean, a bar of iron, an unmagnetized bar of iron has got all the atoms pointing all different ways. Each particle in the bar of magnet is actually a magnet. Okay, when the bar is magnetized, what happens is that all the particles, the atoms, the particle atoms, right? They move, they point in the same direction. All the north points to the north. All the
Yes.
particles point to the north, and that's how the whole bar becomes magnet. You call it a magnet. It becomes magnet.
Yeah.
So the question is, what happened between the unmagnetized bar of iron and the magnetized bar of iron? The particles were exactly the same, just like the plasma and the gas. The particles are exactly the same. What happened? Okay, what happened was they orientated differently. The organization was different. That's the only thing. And there could be higher states of matter where, like Bose-Einstein condensation actually is where particles are quantum coherent. That means they are basically aligned not only classically but quantum, wise. So coming back to plasma, the other thing about plasma is that it is tenuous. It's tenuous. So the thing is, this just now I said these plasma life forms, they they actually fuse into our bodies. So actually, you have an ordinary matter side. You actually have also a dark side, and that's what
Yeah.
happens when we meditate.
Yes.
So a lot of confusion arises because you don't know which sense you're using, whether dark side or is it the ordinary side. Okay,
Yes.
so if you see a UFO, you see the ordinary side. What you're going to see is the cold plasma, ordinary closed cold plasma envelope. But a person with dark side, right? He's going to see the actual life form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to I mean, you're saying that you see things and so on. First of all, I mean, you could be switching back and forth. I mean, especially in a very dreamy state, right? So, a lot of UFO sightings occur when people are driving across very, in the desert, very lonely roads for long distances. Then
Yeah.
they become
In
drowsy. Then they
liminal
go into the,
states.
yeah, they become a bit.
Yes.
It's called a hypnopompic or hypnagogic state. And
Yes.
what
And
happens
I'm
is that
in that a lot.
yeah, right. So what?
I'm in that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
So what happened is that the dark side and the ordinary side merges. So what happened
Yeah.
is it is superimposed. This is called a type 3 encounter under dark plasma hypothesis. So when it merges, you can see blood. I mean, even in the Old Testament, you see that person saw blood on the wall. It's not blood on the wall. The blood was dark plasma, but the wall was the ordinary wall. It was superimposed.
Yeah.
And then
That's
people
how
say,
I see
yeah,
things. They come into my so I have a lot of hypnagogic states every morning where I'll get information, kind of like science information that I don't know how I'm getting. It's very strange. But I'll also have these experiences seeing these other beings, and it's not scary. It's just it is a liminal dream state I'm in, just because I can either be very logical or very right brained. And when I do let my logic go, I seem to have these miraculous, unexplainable experiences that are like super conscious. And it can also happen when I'm in a state of grief. But yeah, it's strange to think about.
yeah. So when you're waking up, right? When you just
Yeah.
open your eyes, right? The dark side and the ordinary side are merged.
Yeah.
And that's why you see things, a mixture of ordinary objects and also the dark matter objects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that maybe explains some of your, even the
It does.
ultraviolet thing.
Yeah.
They may be talking about the dark plasma violet. Is not the ordinary plasma violet is actually can be harmful.
Yes.
Mhm.
But this
Because of
feels
the
not
way,
harmful.
yeah.
Yeah, this is like I was this happened to me a few times. I'm in bed and there are like these holographic shimmering lights. They're just floating in my bed and they feel like love almost. They feel like emotion but not thought. And they're just these glowing lights and then they
Yeah.
go away. Oh, you're on mute.
The other point I was making was that that plasma is very tenuous. That means the moment you think of something, right? I mean, in an ordinary matter earth, telepathy is can hardly work because everything is so dense.
Yes.
But in the dark plasma sphere, the electric charge is much less, okay, and you've got low density plasma floating around you. The moment you think of something, you are sending out dark electromagnetic waves, which you do not realize that in your ordinary matters, it is not ordinary electromagnetic waves, it's dark electromagnetic waves.
Yeah.
So when you think of something, if you are using dark side and looking at something, and then you do not know that you're actually sending out dark electromagnetic waves, you'll be surprised to see things right in front of you, because
Yeah.
your electromagnetic waves are actually forming shapes and bodies in the dark plasma atmosphere. Okay, I've actually gone into a lot of detail about this, about how the electromagnetic waves actually form holograms. Okay, in this dark
Oh.
plasma environment. Yeah.
Wait, that makes so much sense. So it basically, I feel like the way I would make it is like intention slash emotion is a dark electromagnetic wave, and it brings to us memory and information that resonates with our current state. That's at least how I would reconcile it.
Yeah.
And
So,
the
yeah.
hologram makes sense
Yeah.
too. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
just to rewind a bit. Yeah, it's true. But the memory is also stored in the ordinary bioelectric field.
Yes.
Loads
Yes.
of it. I mean, loads of memories are in the. Now, remember, actually, Levin doesn't talk about this, but there are also bioelectric theories about the brain. Now,
Yes.
if the brain has a bioelectric field and the body has a bioelectric field, which Levin talks about, okay, I mean, people like McFadden, they talk about the bioelectric field of the brain. Levin talks
Yep.
about the bioelectric field of the body. I talk about both.
Mm-hmm.
Because you realize that both are actually can be one. Now,
Yeah.
if that's the case, you know, what's the difference between a body form and a thought form? It's the same. As far as the bilateral field is concerned, it's one and the same field.
Yeah.
And that is why your thoughts can generate forms. I mean,
That makes
you know,
sense.
and memories. You remember the caterpillar where the brain was destroyed, and
Yeah.
yet when it became a butterfly, it still had it, right? So it is not the memories are not just stored in the brain; they are stored all over your body.
In the field. I believe that 100%. And
Yeah,
that's what has to do with healing your trauma and your limiting beliefs. The more I heal, the more I feel like I have impact on my reality in a positive way rather than a negative way. So I think it has to do with that. Can I ask you another question, or do you want to speak on something else?
sure, sure. Ask your questions.
Okay, I have a couple more. Oh, here's a good one. Why do you think, what is the number one reason it is important for humanity to learn about dark plasma and everything we're speaking about today? How do you think it's going to change the world?
It's going to change everything.
I know.
First of all,
Tell me.
from a scientific point of view, it's going to change astrobiology. I always, make fun of current astrobiologists because they are only looking at 15% of the universe, the ordinary matter,
Mm-hmm.
when there's 85% dark matter, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to change astrobiology. And it's going to change SETI, what SETI does. SETI is a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's going to change completely because SETI is always looking out into the stars. So what I introduce is what I call CITI, which is a search for interterrestrial intelligence, which is looking for intelligence in the dark earths, the parallel dark earths.
Here.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
all the dark earths are nested plasma spheres with ordinary matter.
Mm.
So CITI is the search for interterrestrial intelligence within the dark earths. So SETI
Mm.
should have a wing called CITI.
They should. They need to contact you. I don't know what's wrong with them.
No, and and not only that, remember these dark Earths are not only for Earth. You know. Every planet, every exoplanet,
Has this?
in the 200 trillion galaxies that we have,
Yes.
and every galaxy there'll be billions of exoplanets with their own dark Earths. Dark
Yeah.
Earth,
All of them.
yeah. So it's not just, and of course I can tell you how, in terms of, I mean, looking at the bigger picture through the dark matter web, there is a cosmic web, you know,
Yes.
of filaments, and
Yeah, they all
how,
connect.
I mean, they all are in this web, and there are trillions and trillions of them. So we're just talking about tiny, tiny little Earth, okay?
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, when people know about this, a little bit more about this, that we are actually, we have all these dark Earths that we are immersed in,
Mm-hmm.
then they will know where these UFOs or, UAPs come from, where Marian apparitions, where that entity comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you see a ghost, where does it just suddenly appear from nowhere? You're using a dark side in the middle of the night. You wake up, you're using a dark side. You see, there are people just sleeping in your bedroom. I mean, there are life
Yeah.
forms sleeping, but of course they are not sleeping in your room. They're sleeping in their room.
In
It's very
their room. Yeah.
and of course,
Us.
it has implications for life after death also.
Yes. Tell me more about that. That was my next question. Can you please speak on the correlation between what we're talking about today and reincarnation and how our personalities may survive death?
Okay, so we talked about endosymbiosis. Okay, now
Yes.
endosymbiosis is not that when they come together they just stick together. Endosymbiosis in a way is very opportunistic from the plasma life form perspective because from the plasma life form they're actually capitalizing or they're taking advantage of this human body to get to know about this ordinary matter reality. The
Yeah.
human body doesn't realize it, but it also gains because of additional cognitive facilities, intelligence and things. You're talking about intelligence, but the intelligence may not be all in the brain. It could be, every
No.
morning you wake up, you get a new thought and so on and so on. Well, it could come from the physical brain. It could come from, from the dark plasma
No, I
body.
think it's from out. Yeah, I think it's from the dark plasma bodies because I don't know how I could come up with some of these things.
Yeah, so this dark plasma life form, Led Dieter actually called it a parasitic relationship. I call it mutualism. There are
I
different
would
types of.
too.
I call it
Yeah, I
mutualism,
would
but most
say.
people actually call it parasitism. In a way, from certain perspective, it could, I mean, it does appear as parasitism because the dark plasma life form is the one that is more intelligent than the ordinary matter body. It is the one that initiated the endosymbiosis, and it's not going to stay around when your ordinary matter dies. Okay, it's not going to stay
Yeah.
around. It knows when your ordinary matter is going to die, so it just carries on life, in its own dark plasma sphere, the CTS region or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And that is why, but you do not realize it. But you are the dark plasma life form right now. You're talking to me, right?
Yeah, but I'm just visiting.
No, you are the alien. You are the alien. People are looking for aliens. You are the alien. So
Yes, I
when your
agree.
ordinary matter body dies, right? Nothing will change. It's just that you'll be sitting inside a dark plasma sphere, you'll be floating around it, and then your friends from the plasma sphere will come and greet you. They actually before you come out, before your matter dies, they already crowd around you. Okay, they already know that
Yeah.
you're coming back. It's just like waiting at the airport for somebody to come back. You know?
Well, that's why I feel like it's not parasitic, and that's why I call them our ancestors or almost like our future ancestors because to me it feels like I'm them. I'm just right now materialized on earth in a human body. But to me, it feels like a very supportive relationship, and they're cheering me on, and I feel like they love me, and they are observing me. I do feel that, but they're also just interested in human emotion. But we're them, and they're us, so it doesn't scare me at all.
So actually, they come from a more advanced civilization, right? And the
Oh,
other thing about the
yeah,
dark plasma sphere, why is love so prominent in this, in near-death experiences and so on forth? It's actually
yeah,
because of the physics, no? It's actually because of the physics. Because in the dark plasma sphere, you are not a single entity. Your brain actually connects because you got electromagnetic waves emitting and receiving, right? You're receiving electromagnetic waves all the time from all other plasma life form. The whole setup actually becomes a quantum computer. It's actually a things are moving as fast as in a computer between you
yeah.
and all other life forms. You know,
Mm.
and that is why you don't feel like a single identity. You feel like a big, gigantic communication platform, even
Yeah.
more sophisticated than the internet. You know, and when you come out, you isolate yourself in the human body, right? Then when you go back, all these people come to greet you, right? Then as you go along, you feel the interconnectedness, a very, very high level of interconnectedness that you have never experienced, here.
Yeah.
But you have come here intentionally. You have actually, and the other thing about the dark plasma sphere is that time, right, actually moves a little bit faster than here.
Yeah.
And that is why when the dark plasma life form comes to make a decision, right? It is not because they are, psychic or whatever. It's just that there's physics in their plasma sphere, right? The time there is a time displacement between us and them, and that is why
Mm.
they can see what happens to that human baby, right, when she grows up or when he grows up, and then they go
Mm.
around and they are trying to look for where shall I go to learn things and things and so on and so forth. But the problem is there are so many plasma life forms who want to come in. There's a lot of competition, and that is why
Yeah.
even in Buddhism, right, they say it's like a turtle. If there's a tire, a rubber tire moving on the surface of the ocean, the
Uh-huh.
probability of a turtle actually putting his neck through the rubber tire, the probability is very low because there are so many turtles vying for so
Yeah.
little tires. Even our population is 8 billion, is nothing
Yeah.
compared to the trillions of life forms. So everybody is
Yeah.
jostling to come in. Everybody is jostling to come in. And then when you leave, right, everybody on the other side is so excited because they a lot of them haven't come here, so they want to hear from
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're actually part of that family also. But there are a lot of, I mean, there's a hierarchy. Mm. So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
so
what's the
interesting.
impact on mankind? I mean, it's tremendous. I mean, it's like you can forget about everything that you knew, for the past few centuries, for past few millennia actually.
Yeah.
And
I
religion
really
and
think it'll,
yeah,
go ahead.
religion and science will not be. I mean, is basically religion is like a proto science. It becomes a proto science.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then science is like a protoplasma because I feel like science needs to kind of expand and into metaphysics, to be honest, and still keep the science, but science needs to expand to fit in this stuff, or meet this stuff, because it's expanding beyond this, and it solves so many paradoxes. I feel like, and I like the word, metaphysics or science of higher consciousness. I like the word quintessence over quantum physics. Studying this fifth essence or fifth element. But I just think I really think this is going to happen in our lifetime, and I'm excited about it. Is there anything else you'd want to say before we do close out on this?
Yeah. I mean, just basically that religions should, try to get the scientific explanations a little bit more of them, and then for the scientists, would urge them, not to be too fixated on how we discovered things in science for the past 500 years, because the next 500 years, how we, actually discover more things is, to look at all this, what we call folklore, but they may hold. I mean, for example, a person may, previously, right, see a fiery dragon in the sky or whatever, but it could be a plasma
Mm-hmm.
formation. I mean, from our perspective, it's a plasma formation. So we shouldn't disregard historical, historical fables or stories or whatever, and look into
No.
it to see what is the physics behind this, right? And
Yeah.
if everybody gets to know the physics, then of course religions. I don't know how religions will evolve, but they will probably become less. The previous. It's not that religion becomes obsolete. Is the explanations for the various concepts in religion becomes more scientific, and people will, as Gen Z and the generations after that, they will be, looking to scientific explanations for all this, especially when there are scientific. A lot of people think that there are no scientific explanations, but actually there are.
Yeah. No, I think that's why I love science. That's why when I got into this, and for me it was actually very random. I started meditating and all of a sudden I just knew all these things about plasma, but I had never studied plasma in my life. So for me it is very metaphysical and strange to me, and I don't know how I even fell into this. It just kind of came to me. But I knew not to go the spiritual route. I knew to mix spirituality and science, and that's why I love metaphysics. And I'm trying to create like a new science to study this that needs to be more about like holographic stuff and systems theory and Gestalt and mixing psychology in with it. It can't just be the science we're using now to study particles, because I don't think that's going to cut it. Do you agree?
I think you have an intuitive grasp. I mean, because I will, if you actually everything that you are asking for, I mean, in terms of getting to know a little bit better about plasma, can be found in my books and papers and articles, and especially recently where I've gone into a little bit more detail. But
Yeah,
every question that you ask, I mean, there is an explanation in one of my papers articles, but of course, those are
I'm
not the
sure.
end. Is not the end all. I mean, basically, there will be other researchers also. I mean, once you see the scientific aspect of it, they agree with it. Maybe other researchers will also talk about it. And
Yeah.
recently, there's been more and more, the researchers finding, more that the density of dark matter on Earth is higher, right?
Yep.
That dark plasma, that dark matter could actually be electrically charged. That electrically charged dark matter could actually be dark plasma. Actually, everything connects
Yeah.
to it. So a lot of the research that's being done,
Mm-hmm.
including all the dark matter experiments, which may accidentally bump into a dark plasma life form, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they are actually, this is a time where there's this transition taking place, and science will come to it, I think, within 20 years, 30 years. It
I
won't
think
be.
so too.
It's not that we don't have the information or the experiments, but there are prejudices and there are biases
Yes.
which are very, very strong.
That's what it is. And I do see that falling a bit. And I don't know if it was, coronavirus and everyone kind of having a dark night of the soul, but it just feels like people are not caring as much what other people think, and they're searching for truth for the first time ever. And I'm just so blessed that we both get to be on the frontier of this, and I'm so grateful that somehow I came across plasma in the ethers, and that this came to me and that this came to you, because I really think you'll go down in history for some of this stuff, and I'm just so excited to like see actual change. But I really think it's coming. Plasma's getting popular now.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
getting popular. Yeah, it is, especially
yeah,
in 2025. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't think it is a mistake that it is the first bridge. Plasma is literally the bridge between science and spirituality. It's like the bridge of the magpies. I think
No, but
plasma is what will,
mm,
yeah,
but I have to not warn you, but you know, I mean, you will feel a little bit happier actually if you know this, that beyond plasma there are other things, because plasma
yes,
interacts with light. And light
yes,
is photonic, plasma is plasma. Okay, in
yes,
between there is another layer called plasmonic. Okay, so
yeah,
photonic life forms are another, but they are much much more advanced. I mean, they are different ball altogether, but the
yeah,
photons do interact with the plasma also. So is plasma, you
yes,
have to regard plasma only as a state of matter, but don't
yes,
get fixated on it, because there are other things. But
yep,
uh, in terms of the cosmology, right, in terms of the dark earths, right,
mm-hmm,
practically all there, I mean, according to my sort of like analysis, there are like four dark
mm-hmm,
earths. Okay,
yeah,
and the first two are a little bit more semi-classical. I mean, between quantum and classical.
mm-hmm,
And the first two have got plasma. Third one has got
mm-hmm.
plasmonic, and fourth one got plasmonic going on to photonic. Once it becomes photonic, you don't need a dark earth. You don't need dark earths.
No, I actually, funny, I'm sure you haven't read my book because it's like 12 million pages, but what I call 5D plasma, which I call is made of omniphotons. I just call it plasma because that's just how I can conceptualize these layers in my brain, but it basically is just a very, very fine, fine, fine neutral particle. I mean, it's not even a particle. I don't even know how to conceptualize it. Honestly, I haven't gotten that far in research or even thinking about it, but I feel like I'm very connected. I feel like some people call it God. I connect with my higher self in this realm. They do seem very hyper intelligent, but the way I conceptualize it, they almost come through these omniphotons through this dark plasma and almost visit us that way. Um, but I feel like I'm relating to what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of dimensions, right, according to my model, right, I mean,
Yes.
the most of the time we're talking about the dark plasma or dark plasma sphere is 3D. Okay, the ones that I'm talking about in UAP, UFO, I'm talking about 3D. Okay,
Got
but
it.
the next dark earth is 4D. Next
Yeah.
dark earth is 5D, and it stops at 6D. After 6D, right, is more into photonics. Okay, so
Ooh, okay.
yeah. So you have that. I mean, when you talk about photonic space, and space time becomes like obsolete lah.
Yeah.
It sort
Yeah.
of becomes almost obsolete, not totally obsolete, almost obsolete. But
Hmm.
you're talking about 5D, 6D. Yeah. The reason why it only stops at 6D, there's a reason why in physics why it stops at 6D. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and why it switches into another kind of a realm, as it were. But
Yeah.
yeah, so to come to a point about the 4D, actually Charles Leadbeater and all these people, they've spoken a lot. I mean, they've written books about this 4D, uh, you
Yeah.
know, plasma sphere and so on and so forth. And then you got 5D, 6D, and imagine. I've actually my books actually explain about 4D, 5D, 6D, and about
Yeah, I'm
cognitive
gonna have to
development.
read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because cognition becomes different. See,
Yes.
let
Y-
us say your brain, right? Your current the brain is 3D. If it's a 3D brain, how many how many connections can he make?
Yes, I agree with that. And I
And
think
then,
also when
and
I
then,
say,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
no, and then raise it up to 4D and think how many.
Yeah,
It's the number of connections are going to explode.
yes. And I think when I say 5D too, and I don't think I'm always correct. I think I just use like the framework that works in my mind. I don't think it's the ultimate truth. I think when I say 5D, it might be what you are calling like 6 to 90 or something, if that makes sense. Um, yeah,
Okay, that really makes sense because as I've already explained in the books that when because you are a plasma life form, but you have been so
yeah,
ingrained with the ordinary matter space time 3D.
yeah,
So
yeah,
even when you jump into a 5D environment, you'll be
yeah.
still using your 3D kind of
Yes, yes.
it's
And when
so
I'm not, I
it
can't
takes
even
time.
talk.
Yeah, it takes time for you to sort of slowly evolve into that 5D dark side. And this is what Annie Besant actually said, 100 years ago. That
Yeah.
if and I call it a 3D correlate. What you see in the when you jump into a 5D universe, right? You won't see 5D straight away. It's just like a baby, right? When a baby is born, right?
Yeah.
It takes time for it to see the three dimensions actually. Huh? So
Mm,
yeah, so I understand what you're saying. That it will
yeah.
take some time, and if you go too fast, you can become insane. you,
That's why I'm trying not
so
to.
don't so don't take it slowly, and know that
Yes.
the universe is really huge.
Yes, I think I'm taking it slowly. I'm definitely humbled by people that came before me, and I respect, and I think everyone holds a certain truth, and I think on my journey I'm just taking new things as I go through those levels. And that's why I love also learning from people like you, because it gives me new knowledge and the books I read. And I'm sure same with you. Let me ask you a final question. And then if you want to say one more thing, feel free. And then I'll share where people can find you. What is your top 3 favorite books when it comes to all these things? Metaphysics, science, plasma, anything. I'm ready to see.
Okay, I've got this one, the case
The
against reality.
case.
The case against by Donald Hoffman. The case against reality. The
Got
case
it.
against
Yep.
reality. Yeah,
Yep.
I think this one is a very important book to read. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
of course you've got Alex Villanin, who talks about the
What is it called?
eternal
Put it in the
inflation
camera.
theory. This is many worlds in one.
And who's it by? Alex
Alex Villanin.
Vilenkin. Okay.
He's a physicist, a very well-known physicist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this book to she's talking about the multiverse basically. So my theory
Ooh.
is actually based on this eternal inflation theory.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Another book is,
Many
of course,
worlds in one.
this one, the Master and the Emissary. Should I put it there? It
Yeah, put it up to the camera. Let me
it's
the here, put it back a little bit near your face. The master and his emissary. Oh, Philip Pullman.
no, this one is by
Oh,
Ian
oh,
McGilchrist.
I see.
He talks about the left hemisphere and right hemisphere, which my 2006 book actually talks about. And I say
Ah,
basically the same things. A lot of the stuff that he says, I've said it. Okay, but this book is important because it tells you about how there are different kinds of processing in the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere, but
uh-huh.
not in a very elementary way. It's a more scientific way and more useful because of that. You know, and also you may want
Yeah.
to also, Bart Ehrman, right?
Heaven and Hell, a story of the
Bart Ehrman.
afterlife. Bart Hurt. Okay.
He's a academic who studies Christianity, and a lot of people have
Uh-huh.
respect for him, even the Christians. But
Uh-huh.
he's not a Christian, yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that he talks about, I mean, can easily connect to my wider dark plasma hypothesis, where I talk about
Oh.
augmented realities. Augmented realities in a plasma sphere. generated by
Yeah.
holograms and plasma waves. Okay, and that's what heavens and hells are actually.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that resonates with me. Oh my God, I love these suggestions. Okay. Would you like to leave the audience with anything? I always say, what is something that comes up when you think of candy for your soul? Something that will warm the heart of someone to tell them based on all of your research, humanity, etc.
I think the main thing is that life is, I mean, the greater life, the extended life is exciting beyond imagination. I mean, you can't even imagine it. Moving through all these plasma spheres, okay, moving through the photonics, moving through the plasmonics. I mean, it's sort of like a lot of people, I mean, 99.9% of people just think about this ordinary matter Earth, but
I know.
it's almost invisible when you look at the bigger picture. But at the same time, it's very heartwarming to be here because and to know that there's a lot more to it. You are going to other places. I mean, other planets, not other planets, but in a sense, other
Yeah.
planets. When you talk about the dark Earths,
Yeah.
which are attached to this planet. So, I mean, the level of excitement. I mean, if you really understand what's happening on Earth, okay, you're going to be like totally astounded. And
Yeah.
then a lot of the stuff that happens here is like a lot of bullshit. You just say
I know.
bullshit.
I am dealing with it now with normal
All the
human
wars, especially
freaking
the war,
bullshit.
all the wars and the conflicts, nonsense. Is totally nonsensical.
Ugh.
Yeah. So
It's
I
so,
mean, what I'm going to
yeah.
say, I mean, don't be disheartened or pessimistic, but be realistic. But having said that, other terrains are also can have their own risks. Okay, you don't
Yeah.
just plunge into another terrain, whether it's dark plasma sphere or whatever. You probably need to have a guide,
Hmm.
whether the guide is from here or from the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so basically life goes on, and I think that's the most heartwarming thing you could ever say. And I would love to eventually do a part two because I'm sure that you're going to have so much research next year. And let me ask, are you going to the Science of Consciousness conference in Arizona in April, or because Donald Hoffman will probably be there and
No.
Stuart
No,
Hameroff?
I've read, I've listened to a lot of his videos, YouTube videos, and I've kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand where. I mean, I've got enough, lah. I've got enough. I'm sort of like, and then I also read a lot of, watch a lot of Michael Levin. Michael
Uh
Levin
huh.
and Hoffman are the two people. I would say one of my greatest influences are Michael Levin and Donald
Mm.
Hoffman and Charles Leadbeater. These are the three. I mean,
Yeah.
for the modern era, I'll say Hoffman and Levin are the two
Yeah.
most important people in the world today in terms of what's coming up.
I think Michael Levin is too. The only thing with Michael Levin, and I will say this to him if I meet him, is I think he's putting it, maybe because he's funded by these people, but he's putting it a lot into technology and AI. And I wish we could maybe apply it more to like consciousness and how like humanity can learn from it without applying it to technology. But I think when you're funded to do this research, you have to apply it there, obviously.
Mm. So I'm not going to
But,
the. I'm not going for any conferences of consciousness
oh,
because
darn.
I find it. No, I find it a bit. I mean, I don't. I mean, it can be interesting, but it's also slightly outdated. It's slightly
Yeah,
outdated
well,
from. I mean, from where I'm coming from. Okay.
yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same where I kind of listen to everyone. I'm like, okay, well, I have my own theories now. And, I thought that 5 years ago. Thanks, guys. But also, once in a while, I'm going because I get to speak about my ideas. And I beg Stuart to have me there. So I think that's why I'm going to go. But as
Yeah, go,
far,
go,
I
go
try
there,
to listen, but
go there and enjoy yourself. I mean, with
yeah, I'm going to.
but don't
And okay,
overwhelm
can you?
yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take it easy. Take it easy.
I'm trying. I'm overwhelmed. Every day I have this information flowing through me, and I'm trying to live a normal life, but then normal life kind of sucks because then I have to deal with all these stupid human things. So I kind of want to go back to just being obsessed with plasma. Um, but okay, can you please tell everyone where they can find your LinkedIn, your research papers, your books, anything else? And I'll also have the links below in the bio.
Yeah, sure. I mean, of course, the most important source of material that you can get is actually um, my YouTube channel, which is called Jay Alfred. Jay Alfred is
Yes,
my
I have that.
YouTube channel. And then, if you want to see my papers, they are all in
Academia.
academia.edu. Academia. I mean, these are the two main places. There are other places, but these are the two main places that I would
Okay, and
suggest.
then I linked your LinkedIn, and I
And of
also
course,
am going to link
LinkedIn.
your Invisible Bodies book.
Yeah, and but importantly, link the academia.edu my profile on it
Yes, I did.
because the newest things are happening there. The newest
Yeah,
connections
I
there.
linked that one. I follow that. So for everyone who doesn't know, Academia, you can just get you can get an app on your phone from Academia, and then you can follow him. Just for anyone who doesn't know that. So yes, thank you
Yeah,
so much, Jay.
thank you
And
so much,
stay
Diana.
on for 1 second. I'm just going to stop recording, but everyone, please follow us. Follow Heart Snacks on Spotify, podcast, YouTube, Instagram. Share this with your friends. You can follow me at dana.thealien on Instagram. You could check out my magic classes and my book, A New Force, Plasma Consciousness, and the New Human Potential. And please also check out Jay's LinkedIn, his amazing books on plasma, which came like 20 years before mine. And his YouTube is actually fantastic. It explains things very well in case you're new at this and your brain is exploding from this conversation. So I love you all. You guys are magic.
And
Keep
of course,
going.
academia is
Oh,
very, very
and
important.
academia. Academia is number
Academia.edu
one.
is very important. Yeah. Mm.
Yes, it's number one. That's where I actually got most of your information from. But the YouTube is just easier for the younger kids. So, yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Daniel.
All right,
Thank you
I'm
so
going to
much.
stop
Bye bye.
recording. Yep, 1 sec.